This is Primer 2. We will begin working in InDesign. This primer is mainly to acquaint you with the toolbar in InDesign, Adobe InDesign, and also to show you how to manipulate things with various tools from the toolbar. One note you should make is that I am using CS4 for these primers, as we were unable to get CS5 for the demos. Everything about the toolbar is essentially the same except for the gap tool, and I will mention that, and if you have CS5 or 5.5 you will notice the gap tool. It's not a highly used tool. There's also a page select tool, which again is not a highly used tool. Once you have clicked on the ID icon and the program is loaded, you will simply either go to the Open a Recent File or go to Create a New Document. At this point we're going to open a recent file. For you though, you'll need to find the location. So go to the Open with the three dots, and we're going to go to the Let's See drive where I created a location for the primer. Now the primer will load, and you'll notice that there are several items on the document already. To acquaint you with the tools first, we have the Selection tool, the Direct Selection tool, Pen tool, Type tool, Pencil tool, Line tool, Rectangular Frame tool, Rectangular tool, Rotate, Scale, Scissors, Freeform tool. Then we have a Gradient Swatch and a Gradient Feather tool. Now the last four we're not really going to talk about at this moment, but the ones above, right here from the Gradient on up, we'll really discuss. The Selection tool, which is the dark or filled in arrow, that allows you to select an entire object that has been created and move it around, or size it from any of the points that are visible. There are 8 points around the edge, the corners and then the sides. This allows you to manipulate the size of the box. However, with the Direct Select tool, clicking on that, you'll notice that 4 of the points have disappeared and the ones at the corners are much smaller. These are now anchor points that will allow you to reshape the box so that it can be a different polygon of sorts. This is useful if you want to create a certain text flow around an object and you cannot get a bounding path around that object in a certain shape. Also, with the Direct Select tool, you'll notice that these different shapes that are here, if I click, hold, and drag, I can manipulate those. I may also manipulate the curved anchor or the Bezier curve handles. Now remember I said in the first primer about the Command Z, so we may undo the move. Now in InDesign we have infinite undos where we can actually go backwards in time quite a bit so that we can restore those objects to their original state when I open the document. The Pen tool, before I leave the Direct Select, let me note that if you hold down any of the tools that have a small triangle in the lower right corner, you'll notice that you have other options. We have a Positioning tool, now with the Pen tool, notice that we have several options below this as well. We have an Add Anchor Point, a Delete Anchor Point, and then a Convert Direction Point. The Pen tool is what I use to create this small shape here that looks like a comma. If you'll notice, I'm clicking, I click, hold, and drag, that creates those handles. Now if I just let go, I get completely angular shape, a completely angular shape. Whereas if I click and hold, I get a curved point. And then if I go back to the original point, I would get a little degree mark, which means to close that path. Again, we'll talk more about these different features. Now when I go back to the selection tool, notice how a bounding box appears. This, again, is how I may resize this shape based on the bounding box. And then if I want to, just click delete if I don't want to keep the shapes. The type tool, note that it has an option beneath it, type on a path. First, let's create, by using the type tool, another type box. Now I use the Command A to select all. That is right here. Notice the quick key. So the shortcut again is you may click, hold, drag, or if you click in a box, go edit, select all. That's how you can select all those. Now if you had more than one line of type, let us do Command C to copy it, and I'll paste it, Command V, or again, if you'd like to know the long way. Now if I triple click, I get the line. If I quadruple click, I get the paragraph. And that will allow me to change the type style here. I may also change the character of the line and the size. Now notice when I made this larger and bold, I got a red plus symbol. The red plus means there's more copy that is not visible. So if you click on it with the selection arrow and then click somewhere else, a text box will appear for the remaining copy. Again, you may grab that and shrink the box. So again, if you have extra copy, there will be a red plus symbol in the lower right. Then you simply click with the selection arrow and click somewhere and create that text box. If you remove this box, delete it, the red plus symbol reappears. That's a safety feature to allow you some way of kind of double checking that there's not copy missing. If you would like to change the color of something, such as the background, you may go to your windows and go to swatches. I believe in CS5 there's actually a color, a group of windows. If you see, there should be an arrow for color and different object features, and you'll simply go to find the swatches window. If you cannot find a window, simply click on Help and type in swatches. And then when you go down there, it will tell you, there's your swatches. That will be very useful going to CS5. Here are my swatches. Let's change the background to yellow. Notice how the yellow is. Now if I click on the T, which means type, I will be able to then change the type color . If I click on the T, then I'll be able to change the type color without actually selecting the copy in the box. Then I will click back on the object selector to then change the background again if I wish. Here we can do that as well, changing the fill color of the box. If you would prefer a gradient, you simply click on the gradient fill, noting that it becomes a black and white fill. Now you can tear a menu off, such as the gradient, and then by doing so you can then drag a color into the gradient slider. And then you can change the angle using the gradient tool I showed you earlier. I click, hold, and drag. change the direction. You can even change the type on the gradient window to a radial. Now, of course, using the gradient tool now appears different because it's the center of the blend rather than the beginning and end of it, where you begin. Then the line tool, the pencil tool, the smoothing tool, and eraser tool are pretty straightforward. If you draw a line with the pencil tool and then decide that you don't like a certain area of it, you simply draw across it with the smooth tool, and that will actually remove some of the points. And by double-clicking the tool, you can refine how smooth or how much percentage of smoothness you can get. And if you wish to erase part of the path, again, you choose that part of the tool, and it literally will break the path apart. Now I'm just selecting, click, hold, drag,